Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 12th annual members meeting for LACA, the School Food People. We're just going to let people log in and then we'll introduce Jackie Blake, who will be chairing today's meeting. Just give it a few more minutes. Okay, numbers are coming in now. Up to about 60 people so far. Give it another 30 seconds and then I'll pass over. Okay, we seem to have steadied out. So, ladies and gentlemen, Jackie Blake, your national chair.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. And I'm really glad so many of you have been able to join us this afternoon. It seems as though this last year has certainly flown by. I guess we've all been extremely busy with all the challenges of COVID. I'm pleased to say I was very excited to take up the role of chair at our board AGM last Monday. So this is my first event. However, as with many things, this year will be slightly different. So I will chair the meeting and then Stephen will present the chair's report. Just one request to you all, if you have any questions, if you could put them in the Q&A section and please say who you are so that we know who we're talking to. So without further ado, I will start with the meeting. So we have 4 apologies for absence: Kate Evans, Jackie Foster, Vivian Buller and Richard Brooks. And I would now like to run through the minutes of the last meeting, which was in September 2020. I think if you're going to are you putting those on the screen? Thank you. So as you can see, we had a very full chair's report from Stephen with lots of meetings attended and talked about his 3 priorities that he had laid out for the year. So next page. And they were extension of universal infant preschool meals, the LACA allergens guidance, which has obviously now been launched, but Stephen will talk about that. And on to the next page, which was then working group update. So we had Beverly talked about membership services group and in particular services to members and encouraging more membership uptake. And then I followed on with the communications and marketing update, and I'm pleased to say that we could report that our efforts through the new website and the uptake of Twitter and Instagram feeds had increased significantly, which is good news as we're all now working in this more digital age. And then we had a report from Neil on the events group, which again, due to COVID, lots of changes there, far more webinars rather than meeting in person, which were very successfully attended. And then we moved to finance and administration, and I'm sure Hilary will update us in the next session. Some quite key challenges throughout the year as we have all experienced with our finance and administration. And then I think we're on to the next page. And then Neil Porter, as our business director, gave a report, and he will be doing the same again this meeting. And he was appointed as business director. And then we had the statement of accounts for 2019, including the auditor's draft report. And then the confirmation, which was obviously a continuation, as Stephen's done 2 years as chair. So myself continued as vice chair. And then a confirmation of the appointments and resignations of directors. And then finally, we had any nominations for honorary life membership. So unless anyone has any objections, we'll pass those as the minutes of the meeting. Thank you. So now it gives me great pleasure to hand over to Stephen, and he's going to present his chair's report.
Hi, and thanks, Jackie. Having handed over the chair of LACA for the next year to yourself, I'd like to record personally what an honour, a privilege and experience it's been to have chaired the organisation these past 2 years and to have worked so closely with you, Jackie, in my term of office. I also want to formally note my thanks to my LACA North East and Scotland home region for their support, extending this to thank colleagues within NSG, the board, and of course Allegra, SVC or Oak Hill, and Dewby Redpoint, without whom much of the work that we do can't carry on. They've all given us unflagging support, especially during the challenges and the exceptionally difficult time we've seen across our sector of the hospitality industry during the COVID pandemic. I'd also at this point record my thanks to Chartwells and Compass Group UK and Ireland for their support these past 3 years and allowing me the time needed to fulfil the vice chair and then the chair's roles. Clearly, the events of this year and the revised date for the main event means that a full overview of my term as chair will be given at conference next month, so I don't want to bore you all rigid. However, today I refer back to my original aims as your chair with some satisfaction that despite the challenges of the pandemic, we've made progress and strengthened our relationships with many stakeholders in the process. Firstly, we set out to campaign for both the retention and the extension of universal infant free school meals. No matter their background, every child deserves a hot, healthy meal. As our own research with the Education Policy Institute 2 or 3 years ago now indicated, free school meals improve not only the concentration, but also the attainment of pupils, fueling them for the rest of the day. Actually, this part of our campaigning was strengthened with the focus on free school meals in many ways during the COVID pandemic, with the interventions of many different people with a vested interest to feed children during lockdown. And it became the subject of national debate for many of these different parties. And then, of course, we had the Prime Minister's assertion of pride for the policy, stated more than once in Westminster. Whilst it was far from the required increase in funding we'd requested and hoped for, the decision by DfE to increase funding by 4p a meal for the first time since the introduction of universal free school meals back in 2014 was welcomed by caterers and schools alike. There's an opportunity for LACA lying ahead with the comprehensive spending review, which sets departmental budgets, and it's happening in the autumn. The established daily allowance of £3 for food parcels or vouchers allocated during the pandemic has to be our continued ask, though clearly the expectation on public spending restraint in the coming years will remain challenging for us all. My second area or objective was a focus on developing an allergens guidance and risk assessment package. And I'm pleased to say that that was completed and is seen as successful. And the confirmation of our success on that is that it is now available as a direct link on the DfE website. And that, I think, demonstrates the new way of working in partnership with the DfE very clearly. Recently, we've been working on developing guidance on extended provision throughout the school day, and that also has been welcomed by them. So we hope to see this communicated in the same way in due course. With the parents of Natasha, Edna and Laperouse due to attend the main event, as Natasha's law comes into force this next month, we can be rightly proud of the work undertaken in this area by LACA over the last 2 years. It gives us the knowledge that we now have strong advisory data for colleagues across the whole of the UK to reinforce the new UK-wide law. And that this is now signposted on the DfE website is a real achievement for us. Thirdly, and I fear the most challenging in the last year, certainly for myself, with my additional pounds of furlough fat being particularly obstinate, our campaign to reduce childhood obesity has been most difficult to deliver across the sector. The unprecedented nationwide school closures meant that for many children, there was a move away from the balanced and controlled range of food that we offer daily in schools in favour of carb-based snack items. So this remains an outstanding target, I'm certain that we'll see a return to the discussion on school food standards. With the recent appointment of Professor Susan Jebb to lead FSA, we'll have a champion and an interest in this area. Susan is actually by profession a nutrition scientist, and she's interested in how what we eat affects the risk of gaining weight or becoming obese. And she's keen to see interventions that might be implemented to help people lose weight or reduce the risk of obesity-related diseases. So I look forward to seeing how she influences the school food standards in the coming months. There are a number of areas that I would have liked to have continued to build upon, and I'm really disappointed that I've not been able to visit the regions more. But I've been discussing strengthening our relationship with Assist Scotland and seeing how we can work more closely together with them. And I've been pleased to encourage other organisations to make sure that they include colleagues from Wales in national dialogue on topics relating to school food. Seeing many new members joining this year has been encouraging. Moving to more efficient working methods such as Zoom meetings and national webinars, overseeing the pilot project for the business director's role, introducing monthly NSG meetings, and building our relationship with DfE and politicians have all been positive steps in the workload for us all this year. So thanks again to all who have participated in these activities, and let me be the front person for everything that we've done. Last Thursday week was a really emotional experience. Returning to the real world, attending the PSC 100 meeting and the awards dinner, and seeing people enjoy themselves without the risk of infection. And yet, even at that event in such a prestigious venue, we saw firsthand the staffing challenges facing the hospitality industry. I'm looking forward to the main event in the hope that we can have a superb, safe and secure conference to close down my term as chair and to welcome Jackie publicly as the new chair for the year ahead. I stand shoulder to shoulder with Jackie, knowing that we're still far from being back to normal, with staffing issues, food shortages, and of course the ever constant funding challenges facing the sector and our LACA members. But I'm convinced and satisfied that she'll continue to build upon the commitments made in each of my 3 objectives, as we've worked so closely together in these past 2 years. And I know that she intends overlaying these 3 topics with further campaigning for her own objectives. I give her my full support and commitment to both herself and Brad as their immediate past chair for the next year, and look forward to seeing everyone at the main event. Thank you.
Thank you, Stephen. Much appreciated. I'd just like to say that a big thank you to Stephen for an incredibly busy year and productive year. Well, actually 2 years really, that you've had. I'd just like to say a really big thank you for all your hard work and commitment to LACA, and it has been a pleasure working with you. I have got big shoes to fill, but it's good to know that you're there as immediate past chair, so that's good to know I have that support. And like you know, this last year has been unlike any other, with some tremendous challenges for our industry. However, LACA has, I think, not least due to everything working in a digital format, improved engagement with our members over that time. And as you mentioned, we're still in challenging times with pressures of recruitment, supply of food issues, funding pressures. But I will continue to build on those 3 objectives that you committed to as chair, and build on those key relationships that we talked about with MPs and government departments. They're crucial that to build on those so that we can keep influencing them. So as chair of LACA, my focus will be on calling for government to extend the eligibility for free school meals in line with the recommendations made by the second National Food Strategy that was published this summer. And as you know, LACA have long argued for this, and now more than ever, the need has been highlighted due to the pandemic. And as Stephen mentioned, recent research has shown that many children are falling through the gaps, and a hot, nutritious meal is vital to support a healthy diet, which is key to tackling obesity. LACA will be submitting a paper for the upcoming spending review and budget in October, in order to push for the extension of eligibility first, and secondly, to request an annual budget increase for the funding of universal free school meals. I look forward to continuing to supporting members and certainly to providing them with the latest information and updates, which I think we can all agree was really key during the lockdown periods, and it was good to have that updated information on a regular basis. So thank you to those of you who've responded to our SNAP surveys. It really is vital when you do respond, because that gives us the information so that we can go back to ministers and provide them with the real facts of what's happening out in our industry, and not the things that they may think are happening. And finally, as COP26 approaches, I know we're all aware of the urgency to reduce our carbon levels. And as an industry, we play a big part in this. We're currently working with Edinburgh University on a carbon measuring toolkit. And I know certainly from my own experience in Nottingham, our pledge to be carbon neutral by 2028 looms ever closer. And the need for good benchmarking and tools to support our carbon reduction will be key. So we will look forward to being able to support members on that agenda item. I'm really looking forward to meeting everyone in person at the main event and taking over the reins from Stephen. It will be really so nice to be able to do all that networking and meet everyone for a gin in the bar later. So looking forward to that very much. So now I would like to hand over to Beverly, and she's going to provide us an update on membership services. Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie. Good afternoon, everybody. This is the report of the Member Services Working Group. The membership of the group is myself, Lorna Hicks, Stephen Foster, James Beaumont is co-opted from LACA Admin, Louise Hardcastle of YPO is our partner rep, and Anne Bull is an advisory member. The group's responsible for services to members, covering menu checking service, workforce standards, e-learning, allergens policy and guidance tools, and marketing to attract new members and protection of the brand. Last year's activities. This year, like the last, the work of the group has continued to be impacted by the way services have been delivered during the pandemic, and accordingly has led to a reorganisation of member services and a change to the responsibilities of the group. With the retirement of Lynn O'Brien, who is currently sunning herself abroad, responsibility for the partners moved to the events group on the basis of better synergy. And with Anne Bull deservedly wishing to take a back seat, but persuaded to stay in an advisory role, Lorna Hicks is leading on the development of workforce standards and e-learning, with Anne supporting her. Workforce standards define the requirements that underpin the delivery of quality food and help create a consistent standard for the industry. They're designed to sit alongside in-house training, apprenticeships and qualifications, and provide an excellent template for members working towards the achievement of best industry practice. Full details are on the website. The main work of the group this last year has seen us focus on marketing of membership of LACA. Numbers were severely impacted by the pandemic, with members on furlough or leaving the sector, or organisations reducing their cohort of members. So together with Allegra and Dewberry Red Point, we've been working on a targeted campaign across all categories of members. We've just completed stage 1 of the campaign and are pleased to report that we've gained more than 100 new members. And we make a plea to all regions. We've asked that each committee appoints a member lead, so that once a new member's signed up, the region can welcome and nurture and perhaps buddy a new member with a geographically near colleague, so they feel welcome at events, can seek informal networking contacts, and in this way support the lifeblood of the committee with new talent and enthusiasm. We've developed 10 good reasons to become a member, which can be adapted as suitable to potential members to aid recruitment at regional level. Regional memberships are available on LACAnet, which lists all members, including new ones, and James and I are available to discuss any issues. All new members are now welcome on LACA's Twitter account. During the year, we launched guidance and a risk assessment tool to help our members manage allergens safely. This has had little opportunity so far to be used because kitchens have not been fully opened, but will come into their own now with the new allergens legislation. The guidance is on the website, and there's an interactive risk assessment tool which will allow you to enter specific details of an affected child with the output in a PDF format that you can use to assess mitigations needed to deliver food safely. Please have a look and see if it's, because we believe this will be quite a useful tool for everybody. Linda Mitchell and Carol Harwood have kindly worked on guidance for Wraparound the School Food Day, covering breakfast and after school, including holiday feeding, which will be presented in a format similar to the guidance on food parcels. This piece of helpful work is with the DFE and PHE for approval, but hopefully will be issued shortly. Thanks go to Linda and Carol for their work, which is much appreciated. For the year ahead, we're just commencing stage 2 of marketing new members campaign, aiming to build on the numbers we achieved last year. We'll keep our other traded activity under review and add to our portfolio as opportunities arise. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Beverly. And now it's back to me again as chair of the Communications and Marketing Group. So our group consists of myself as vice chair, Brad Pearce as vice chair elect and regional coordinator. Sharon Smith was Northwest regional chair. She has now retired. Kate Evans is board member for the East Midlands region, and Gary Durbin, partner for Yarra Valley. So as the pandemic and further lockdown restrictions have continued, we've had to review our planned strategy and react to the changes and requirements of COVID. Our focus has been to ensure LACA has supported members and partners through really great communication, the latest up-to-date information, and develop guidance and advice as appropriate. We've progressed with a number of objectives, including developing and promoting messaging to all members and partners, and particularly we've increased communications, offering advice and signposting to the appropriate government links, which I think everybody found extremely helpful, not least of all around food parcel guidance and claims for PM20 notices. We also included through the website chairs updates, direct email and social media updates. We worked closely with our colleagues at SVC, Dewberry and LACA, and continued with the snapshot surveys, as I mentioned, to help form our decisions and provide the DFE with feedback, including local lockdown feedback, a snapshot of meal uptake and detail on the disruption to the industry, and the HAF programme for the summer, and in Wales, the summer enrichment programmes. And I certainly know that the DFE have appreciated us being able to provide them with updates on all the current problems that we're all facing. So please do continue to feed those back. We've implemented agreed changes to create a digital format of the LACA yearbook, as many people are not working in, have not been working in their offices. We've dialed into weekly conference calls and coordinated with SVC, who've coordinated meetings with MPs, government departments, the DFE and DEFRA to influence their decision making. We've worked with the LIGRA to develop a series of theme days for members, which I hope you've all found useful, and they'll continue into next year, including the provision of supporting collateral for posters, newsletters and ideas that are all available to download from our website on the theme days. And just a quick reminder, the next one is National Curry Week, so check the website for details. We work with board colleagues and partners to develop the guidance for food parcels. And again, that was a great success, as Beverly mentioned, being endorsed by the DFE and Public Health England, who put it on their websites. And the same is being applied to the wraparound provision, which Beverly has also mentioned. Have meetings with ProVeg to discuss how they can support members with achieving reduced meat and increased vegetable options to menus. and sugar-wise in light of potential changes to food standards, which are likely to include a reduction in sugar. Social media activity has really increased. So the latest Twitter followers are 7,357, which is an increase of 300 from last year. And Instagram is at 814, which is an increase of 187 from last year, which is really good. So some of our future developments are the publication of the digital handbook in October this year, with a full paper and digital version will be published in May 22 to bring us back into line to the norm. LACA LinkedIn account will be set up next month to support our social media comms, so please do all look out for that and friend us. We've worked with Parent Pay and Dewberry colleagues to conduct a parent survey, and I'm pleased to announce we have some fantastic data that we'll be sharing at the main event. And we've also carried out the annual LACA members survey to report on meal uptake. And this year's slightly different, as we all keep saying, it's an exceptional year, but it really is as regards statistics. So we've chosen to take data sets for 1 month, which is June, and they will be for June 19, June 20 and 21. So that hopefully will give us a really good indication of pre, during and almost post-COVID. I'd really like to thank the comms group, SVC, Dewberry and Allegra for all their support. And finally, a request for any good news stories, pictures, etc., particularly return to school service, any pictures of happy kids eating food. We're always desperate for those to post on our site. So if you can share those, please forward to LACA admin. Thank you. And now I'd like to hand over to Neil, who's going to talk about the events group. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Sorry about that. I lost my my connections there. Thank you, Jackie, for that. And so for the events group then, just to give you a bit of an overview. So the events team then consists of myself as chair, Judith Gregory, Anita Brown and Stuart Clark as board members, Miguel Newms from Bidfood, Simon Gardner from Hobart and Roger Kello co-opted, retired. Julia Richardson also joined our group as partner coordinator. And we also have the addition of Carol Harwood, who takes the lead on Scotty, and Sharon Armstrong, who's the LACA judge. So quite a large committee, but quite a lot of activity to cover between us. As Jackie's already said, actually, I mean, the past 18 months has been very challenging for us all in many more ways than one. We were fortunate to continue with the webinar programme throughout the year and get Scotty on track this year. So to look back at the past year, National School Meals Week was held during November to include the Census Day and some themed day events and marketing material, which were well received. Our thanks to Nigel and the Allegra team for another fantastic year. This is the last year of the current National School Meals Week contract, and the board are now considering options moving forward. For Scotty, the regional finals have been held, with the last regional finalists confirmed just last week. We have 9 regional finalists and now we've got 2 wildcards, 11 in total, who will attend the national final being held at the main event in October. Our congratulations and thanks to Holly Jackson. Although unfortunately much of the calendar events planned for Holly have been postponed or cancelled, she's still more recently been able to attend a few events. Our thanks also to Corn this year for their sponsorship for Scotty 2021. Thanks also to MKN for sponsoring the Germany trip, which we hope to organise later in the year. The main event, unfortunately, last year had to be postponed from July and moved to October. And as you realise, that's just a matter of weeks away now. So there's lots of activity in the background going on to prepare for that. During the year, LACA held a series of webinar events which have been very well attended with a variety of topics and speakers. More to come in the autumn term, with the next planned webinar event being planned this week on the 23rd of September and then on the 10th of November. We plan to organise webinars every 3 months or so due to demand. And I think this also enables people to attend who may not be able to get out of the office or out of the kitchen to attend regional events or national events. So we've decided the webinars form a key part of our communication. Partners, we're delighted to have 25 partners continue with their support of LACA and contribute to the work that we do. We've still managed to have the 2 meetings per year, albeit through via Zoom, and the next Partners Forum is planned for the 29th of September. I would like to express my sincere thanks to all the events team and colleagues for their help and support this year. We look forward to organising more face-to-face meetings in the coming year. Thank you all to LACA colleagues for their support.
Thank you very much, Neil. And now if I could hand over to Hilary, please, for the Finance and Administration Group report. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Jackie. Good afternoon, everybody. Finance and Admin. The group consists of myself as chair, Joanne Campbell and Neil Porter as board members. Sandra Russell, who's a past chair and very good at systems, is supporting the group, as is James Beaumont from the admin contract. Going forward, our new past chair, Stephen Foster, will be joining the group, which will also be of value to the tasks that we have to do. And the group's responsibilities, I say have been, its governance, systems, finance, legal and contracts, probity and systems of regions' finances. And whilst this doesn't change, much of the governance now falls under the new role of the business director, who is part of the group, and that's Neil, of course. So although it's been an exceptional year financially and very difficult in some respects, a number of key developments have still been progressed. On our systems front and accounting systems, we've now adopted the new Xero accounts for all our system, and this is now feeding directly into HMRC for digital tax. I expect most of you know that that has needed and necessitated some changes to how we do things. And as a result of this requirement, a new system has been set up for the regions, which I think I mentioned last year. This is also on a separate but parallel Xero system, and it brings all the regions' account under one umbrella that can be administered and synchronized with the main accounts for tax purposes. All regions' separate bank accounts have now been closed and monies transferred to a central regions bank account. And the new process commenced in April of this year, albeit that there's been very little activity in the regions due to the pandemic. An agreement has been established with Dewberry Red Point accountancy team to carry out the transactional work on behalf of each region, with separate P&L accounts within the system. The regions will be able to focus on their annual budget plans and regional activities, with information on the status of their accounts reported to them on a regular basis. A system and procedure has been set up to accommodate this, and a meeting of all regional treasurers is being set up for the 28th of this month, together with Dewberry, to go through in detail how the system will work. On other systems, our membership system is working well, and we'll soon be getting started on the renewal process for 2022. Don't these years come round quickly? In addition, our systems provider is supporting our LACA system on SharePoint. And at this point, I'd like to thank Sandra for all her work in this area, as well as James from Illigra. In terms of governance, during the past year, we've continued to work closely with the business director, who is now taking on a number of the governance responsibility. And Neil, I'm sure, will give you an update on this shortly. One of the main tasks on reviewing our governance has been updating our constitution to ensure it's still in line with company law. It's been quite a few years since we re-looked at this. We've used our legal services to assist with this process, and this has now been completed and has been approved at the board AGM last week. And all the new documents, the articles and the bylaws will be posted on LACA and onto the website. And at that point, before I move on to the finance section, I'd like to bring Neil in to give his update on the activities that he's been performing in this last year.
Thanks, Hilary. So the business director role has sort of fallen into the sort of 4 main sort of areas of responsibility, and they include the governance, which Hilary has just referred to, business planning and sort of strategy, leadership, and business management and trading. So what the sort of aspects I get involved with, I keep a timesheet, and that's sent through to the national chair and Hilary on a regular basis. So they keep a tight rein on the activities I perform. But when this role was actually identified, there were a number of objectives that were sort of mapped out for me to sort of focus on during this sort of last year, 18 months or so. The LACA business plan is a live document that is the Bible of how we operate, I guess, in terms of as an association. So that needs a regular review and update, which I've now taken responsibility for. I provide support to the chair and vice chair, and that sort of support really is to ensure there's some consistency, I guess, from where the sort of chairs change from year to year. And they know where I am in the background should they need any help or advice along the way. Working group coordination. So we obviously each of the working groups are given a report this afternoon. So what I'm trying to do is to coordinate some of the activities and just make sure what we're doing as an association has some sort of joined up objectives attached to it, rather than us all working in silos. And the communication that we have as an association, so we're mandated to have regular board meetings. So I get involved now with the agenda and review of minutes, and sort of coordination around any aspects of that. And also we've moved to having in national steering group meetings now on a monthly basis via Zoom, which have proved to be more beneficial than the sort of meeting we're having every 3 months or so. So I take responsibility for the agenda for that, and just coordinating those meetings. Some of the projects that we get involved with, I've managed those projects. So those, if it involves any sort of tender or renewal reviews, then I'll work with Hilary and the team and seek a board approval to get those underway. Any joint, so the LACA buying group, I sort of coordinate or the sort of LACA point of contact for the buying group. So through TUCO have regular meetings with them in terms of how that contract is going. Governance also falls into this in quite a large way as well. So as Hilary has mentioned, the articles in the bylaws of the association now have been completed. And what we've done, we've worked on what we're calling a toolkit for all of the directors of the board. And within that toolkit are sort of attachments and links, and everything really any sort of director should need to have access to. So any new board members joining us as part of their induction, that will be the basis of what I would go through with them. Same applies to the constitution that Hilary has mentioned as well. And then finally, it's looking at any sort of trading activities and working with colleagues on other groups as well, just to ensure we've got consistency for the way we manage any activities. So that just gives a very broad overview of some of the aspects I've been sort of involved with over the past year or two, some of which will be ongoing, and some there will be sort of new targets set as we sort of reach the end of this year into next. Okay, thank you. Thanks, Jackie. Oh, sorry, back to Hilary.
Yes, back to Hilary, please. Thank you.
Okay, Andrew, if you could put up the summary of results for me, please. We've just signed off and agreed the audited accounts at the AGM for the year ending December 2020. And this is the usual sheet that I show to members and try to explain a little bit about what has happened within the year. As you'll probably realise, there's been some significant change in 2020 from previous years, so the usual patterns don't necessarily apply. If we just go through it briefly, I'll pick out the areas of most interest, perhaps. And that is on the first one, the handbook. You'll see on the income that was down somewhat. That is because in that year it was just focused on the partners supplement, so it was manifest itself in a different way, and the finances changed. The actual handbook for 2020 was published in the early part of this year and will be showing in this coming year's accounts when we see them. The conference you'll see is a 0, and that is a very significant difference for us, as you can imagine, in terms of our overall income. But I'll move on to that a little bit further on. Partners, we did have 30 partners in 2019. We managed to achieve 22 in 2020. And most of those paid the full fee, although the main event element was carried forward to this year. And so the full effect of all of that will be in the 2021 accounts. Subscriptions, as Beverly mentioned, was down somewhat in that year. And what is listed under sundry income there was the trading that we had done, mostly on menu checking. The regions, as you know, come into this account. They're all pulled into one company account, and that was the total of income for that year, which again was significantly down on previous years. Under the direct costs, the cost of the handbook recognised the 30 partners that we actually had in the previous year. The conference costs, as you can see, were very much lower, and that is, as I mentioned, that element of the partners fee has been carried forward into this year. We reduced in many ways in order to try and mitigate for the lack of income in this year. We reduced certain budgets, one of which was National School Meals Week, and that's reflected in the lower budget position that you see there. In terms of our administrative, if you could scroll down, Andrew, for me, please. Our administrative expenses, the business review costs there are significantly higher, as you will see, but that is because we changed over our membership system and we've paid up front for the next few years for that. What will follow now will just be the cost of licenses. So we took the hit in that year, and the previous year a little bit came through in that year. But that also includes our systems, legal and other fees. The admin contract was much the same, as was the website. The public relations there is the survey that Jackie referred to. We've continued to do that. Consultancy is the Oak Hill communication contract and PR. And the only other thing to perhaps mention there is on the website is that we had some development cost, but we've put that and capitalized it. And that's the amortization cost that comes through in this year. Sundry expenses is included just some COVID documents and some new regalia that filtered through. And of course, we've reduced significantly all the expenses around meetings and travelling and so forth. So the bottom line shows a healthy picture of 100,000 in surplus in the year, but the reality is that £100,000 has been which was invoiced and received in 2020, so therefore it's in the accounts, will not show until this year, when that money has been carried forward effectively to fund, and we've charged the partners in this year their fee less the ME costs. So it's over the 2-year span that it will show the real effect of this. So it's been good that we've been able to mitigate some of the expenditure in order to get through the year with significantly less revenue. Moving on to just showing the region's accounts, if you will, Andrew, please. They're incorporated into the overall accounts, but they're always reported on separately. And again, this reflects a very much reduced activity after March 2020. So there's been very little to report on that, except the balances that have gone through. So those are the audited accounts, and they, as I say, they will be published on Companies House, and they will be published in the handbook in due course. We have agreed to retain Price Bailey, who are our auditors for the next and the coming year 2022 and for 21, auditing the year 21. So I hope that's set the picture on what has been quite a challenging year for us all, and despite little activity has kept us all extremely busy. Thank you, Jackie.
Thank you very much, Hilary, and certainly thank you very much for keeping a very firm hand on the tiller for our accounts. It's not been easy. It's been a challenging year, so thank you.
Shall I move?
Yes, if you could,
yes,
to the membership fees, thank you.
Yes, we have had discussion around this and agreed that we will this year, we didn't last year, but we will this year, this coming year, 2022, apply inflation as is our norm. That has yet to be determined, but as you will all know from the news last week, that RPI is running at around 3.2% at the moment. So that will be reflected in our fees for next year. And that will be published very soon, in time for us to do the renewal process for the system and the notices that go out, and hopefully by the main event, so Beverly can advertise on her promotions for membership. Thank you.
Thank you, Hilary. So now if we could move on to the confirmation of the board position of National Vice Chair. And I'm pleased to say and welcome that will be Brad Pearce. And his Vice Chair-elect will be Anita Brown. So welcome to both of you, and really looking forward to working with you both. Thank you. I think now we need to move on to appointments and resignation of directors, and
Yes, I can take
regional.
that for you.
Oh, thank you.
I can't get vision again, unfortunately, so you'll have to manage without seeing me. It's no, sorry, I can't do that. For the year 2020, but I'll bring it up to date as well as much as possible. The directors of the company are made up of Beverly Baker, representing the South East region, Neil Porter, who is a co-opted director, Stuart Clark, who was appointed in November. Okay, hang on. There we go. Stuart Clark, who was appointed in November 2020 as the representative for East of England when Lynn O'Brien retired, and she was resigned on the same date. Stephen Foster, representing us as chair. Lorna Hicks, representing West Midlands from November 2020. Michael Hales, who resigned in January 2020. Sharon Smith, who has now resigned, and we are about to appoint Derek Wright for the Northwest region. And that'll be from the AGM in September. Kate Evans represents East Midlands and Brad Pearce, the Southwest region. Joanne Campbell, Yorkshire and Humber, and Jackie is on the board as vice chair, now chair. Carrie-Anne Bishop was resigned in November 2020. Judith Gregory represents Wales, Julia Richardson, London, and Anita Brown, North East and Scotland. So that's the makeup of the board of directors of the company.
Thank you, Hilary. So the last item on the agenda is nominations for the board for honorary life membership, regional honorary life membership. And we haven't actually received any requests this year, so there will be no nominations for that. So thank you. And that brings our meeting to a close. I'd just like to say a big thank you to all the board and members and partners. Without you, we are nothing but just a group of people who are trying to get along and make a difference. And I think we certainly all do that. I'd just like to say a very big thank you to everyone. If anybody has any other questions they'd like to raise, I think there's one or two been raised in the chat forum that we've all answered. So if there is nothing else, I'd just like to say again, thank you to everyone, and please don't forget to join the next webinar, which is on Thursday at 11 o'clock, public sector, with myself and Stephen, and updates from about Scotty, the main event, and National School Meals Week. So I'll look forward to seeing you all then, and if not, at the main event. It'll be great. Looking forward to it. Thank you all. Goodbye.